object in your drawings based on the real-world features represented. Okay, so you basically can standardize all the objects in your drawing files. This is what you cannot be do in the AutoCAD as a drafting tools. So when you create a new drawing file, you basically can enforce the object, automatically take the properties and value from their features class, and creating the consistency and establishing the standards in your drawing file. So what does it mean? That you can actually enforce the drawing object in your drawing files to follow the standardized features, like putting to the specific layers, colors, or even though you can take those relevance object database or attribute information to force it to put it into your new created or existing object in your drawing file. Okay. It basically, what's the benefit of this feature specification? It basically will sort out some of the needs that we need to standardize drawing in your company. Let's say you need to do any submission to the department or any public work department. You need to standardize your drawing file. That's the existing problems that where's the user basically have their own creation style. So let's say that you have a those drafting staff or drafting processor who actually help you to create a drawing file, but each drafter basically will have their own choice criteria or own design. So we basically can use the features classification to force all your staff to follow the standardized setting to make your commission or your submission of a drawing file much more easy and efficient. Okay, it basically enhance the drafting speed. Okay, so how is basically what? Okay, let me show you on the screen. Okay, basically this is what we see is a Map 3D software. Here there's a new features called the features classification. What we can see is, let's say we have a drawing file that it have contains some of the existing sanitary sewage pipeline and some of the sewage manholes. What we can do is we can use the features classification features to create a new features. It's just very simple, just a few steps. And these line features will follow the standardized setting in your drawing files. So you don't need like the AutoCAD tools to select those drawing lines, to change the layer, color. So you basically enhance the way where you do the drafting, where you speed up the process of your drafting. Okay. So like for one example, we can create a sewage manhole. Just click on the features on the drawing file. So when I select this manhole, what you can find out is you can get all these informations where it actually forces your drawing object put in the particular layer, color, and even though some of the object data like the names of your manhole. Okay. So how are you going to implement this? How are you going to set all these features classification setting? Let me show you some of the steps. It's basically just very simple to perform this, to create your custom classes, okay? Like for example, from what you see in the appearance of this drawing file, it's basically, if you look at this sanitary sewage pipeline, it has a different color and probably assigned to a different layer. So how are we going to classify and enforce all these features to a standardized setting? Let's say, for example, as I click on these features, take a look on the properties. It's located on this particular layer and with particular color, or even though have its own informations, okay? How about the rest? So we can see that from this drawing file, we basically have this sanitary sewage pipeline basically fall on two different layers. How are we going to classify it to put it in the standardized setting? Okay, before I create a profile, the features classes, I need to log in as an administrator. get the right to create the classification file. Okay, before we create any new features classes, we need to define a new file. Let's say, for example, I just create a sewage pipeline file. Okay, this step basically just create a XML definition file to save all your features setting. After we create this file, you can define your features classes from any existing sanitary sewage pipeline. For example, I just create one of the drawing object. Okay, I just simply rename these features classes. Let's say, for example, it's the sewage, and put in the description. Okay. Here I just basically want to enforce those line features where actually represented the sanitary pipeline on this drawing file to force on these classes. From here you can verify whatever the properties value you want to add into your classification file. Let's say, for example, here you can just verify any colors for this particular layer, or you can just choose a specific color for this layer. For example, I would like to follow the by default layers color for this particular file, and I probably would like to add on some of the layers. Let's say I want to choose it for on the particular layers called sanitary line layers. You can select more than one layers. Okay, and we can choose the line weight for this file. This is basically you can control the line weight. So wherever you create the existing or new features, it will follow all this standardized setting. Then we can put in some of the information pertaining to this sanitary pipeline. Let's say for the material, I can just simply put a range of the material needs. Maybe it's a PVC, or it's a concrete material, just for example. So by default, I just put it as a concrete. So you can show a list of the features, properties that will be added into your features classes file. Okay. So from here, basically you can assign icons. And I can move any linked information to my feature sources. It means that if you have the link information from any Microsoft Access file or any SQL server, you basically can link those information to add into your feature sources. Or you can just maintain it as an original source. Save the definition. So once I'm done, on this Map Explorer features classes here, we found a new features class called sewage. Okay. So from here, I can start to classify the object in the drawing files. Let's say that I just choose a portion of this drawing file. So you see how fast we can use the features classification to enforce the standardized setting in our drawings. So when I double click, take a look on these properties. This is all the information, all the setting that we can define in your classification file. Okay. So at this moment, any questions from your side? Or do you clear about what is the features classifications?
You can ask questions, okay?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm a customer.
Okay.
Okay. No hard feeling, okay, about question first. Okay, I'm a customer, I'm using AutoCAD 2000 now.
Need your staff to do some programming to custom up the requirements of your drawing standardized template or settings, right? But if you purchase the Map 3D, basically you don't need any programming skill. I mean, your staff, basically whoever the new staff like join to your company, like whoever the administrator of this project file. So they actually basically they don't need to learn about the concept of what is the drafting about or what is the drawing through. They can basically follow the standardized setting in your company to create this features classification, so their downstream can follow this standardized setting to continue their work on this drafting or editing drawing file. So what you need is you basically enhance your time. You need to learn specific Autodesk programming to program those application or module to add on to your AutoCAD. So you basically save your times. You just use whatever the tools on the Map 3D to create the features custom file. So you can just follow those custom classification file to add on those features in your drawing. It's basically much more save your time and enhance your productivity.
Yeah, but I have to upgrade to this.
I'm going to show you a very wonderful feature from Civil 3D. That is actually the alignment tool that we have over here. Now, since this is upon request, I assume that some of you are actually civil engineers, right? I'm just going to give you a little bit of overview what is Civil 3D about. Civil 3D is a software by Autodesk for designing. Designing on what? On a civil engineering point of view. Alright, it can do many features, a lot of features, very wonderful tool. But one of them I'm going to show you here is creating alignments. Now, as you know, some of you knows that actually alignment here is the basis of rock modeling. Okay, so I'm going to show you this tool on horizontal alignment, whereby it is actually interactive and intelligent. It gives you better design, okay, better decision making, and provides you with multiple solutions. All right. So here I'm just going to show you the right. Just to give you an overview, this is actually how Civil 3D looks like. As you can see, you have the title on top there, Autodesk Civil 3D 2006. So this is the interface for Civil 3D 2006. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a file that allows me to create a horizontal road alignment here. Now you have an existing road. Let's say if I were to continue to create more alignments here, right? I can easily do that with a powerful tool called the alignment layout, right? So first of all, you will see from the menu here, you have alignments. So here I'm going to create a new layout. So I'm going to click on create by alignment. Now since it is not, I'm going to design this, and this is going to be a preliminary design. So I'm just going to give it a name, preliminary. Alright? Then I'm going to click OK here. Once I've done that, what happens is it gives me a toolbar, alignment layout tools, whereby it has all the features for me to do alignment. Alright? For example, here I can actually draw curves or do a curve settings, right? I can do create fixed line alignments and all this. I'm just going to, before I start doing anything, I'm going to do a setting, because when you design a road, you're not just going to do a straight road, right? You're bound to have some curves, roads, and all these things. So I'm going to do a curve setting just to make sure that your setting is correct. It's up to you to design. And there are different types of curves that you can apply on. Apart from that, you can also specify your variables in a spiral in, curve, or spiral out. It's just up to you. You can just click and you can just modify the value according to your own design. However, for this presentation, I'm just going to stick to the default. I'm going to leave it as 200, the value. So I'm just going to click OK. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to zoom in here first. And I'm going to create a straight alignment according to a certain value. First of all, I'm going to use this fixed 2 points. Right, I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to zoom in here so that I will be able to capture the end of the current existing alignment. So the center line, rope center line alignment here. So I'm going to click on this one. Now, if you're using if you're using previous application or what, you sorry about that. Over here with Civil 3D, you can actually do some calculation as well. You can put in the number of quadrants you want, you can put in your distance, you can put in your bearing by going into this transparent bearing setting here. So here you can specify the quadrant. If you can see from the, we have the command bar now on the screen. So here, quadrant, I'm going to put it as 2. Bearing, 29.3. Alright, let's say I'm going to give a distance of 20 here. Right, in this case, I'm just going to zoom in for you. You look at this, you automatically generate labels. It not only create the the alignment from point 1 to point 2 here, but it also create a label there for you automatically. Now let's say if I were to continue on and then create some more curves from here. Right, so what I can do is I can actually create curves. Now curves, you have many options. Right, you have fixed curve, you have floating curve, you have free curve and all these things. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select on one of the floating curve, whereby I can specify the radius and length and which entity it goes from. Alright, so I'm going to click on this one. Here I'm going to select on this entity. Now you have an option of your curve direction. You can be a clockwise or a counterclockwise. Here I'm going to use clockwise. Then next it will ask you to specify your radius. So what is the radius you want? Let's say I'm going to put in 525 for my radius, and then length is 300. Alright, now let me zoom out so you'll be able to see what it drew. Okay, so in this case you will see that it actually creates the alignment with those specified curve for you. Now let's say I'm going to continue to do that. So I'm going to click on this alignment again, but this time I'm going to use counterclockwise. And I'm going to specify a radius of 300, length of 300. Alright, let me zoom out again. You will see that it creates another curve alignment. So I'm going to finish this up with another curve alignment here, clockwise, a radius of 375, length of 550. Right, and finish with it. Now you will see that I have completed my road alignment design. Now, what is so wonderful about this? I'm sure previous version you'll be able to do this as well, right? Now what we have here is, let me show you this wonderful thing. Let's say if I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to click this road alignment, and I've decided maybe I would like to make some changes. I'm going to click on this and then drag it out a little bit. Now do you notice that the alignment adjusted by itself? Alright, this is what we call by dynamic relationship. Once you do some adjustment, it will automatically adjust the rest of the alignment accordingly. Right? So this is not just a dummy line, this is actually an intelligent line. Alright, intelligent alignment that you have created. Now, not only just dragging like this, sometimes you can also do some planning. So let's say for example, if I were to change the radius of a certain area, okay, as a certain part. So let's say I'm going to do this area, I do a right click, I go for edit alignment, right? Now there's this tool here called sub-entity, alright? I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to pick on, let's say for entity over here, click on it. Now you will see that you have a table showing all your parameters and values here. So let's say if I decided maybe I'm going to change a little bit of my design here, I'm going to change the radius over here to a certain value accordingly. So let's say I'm going to change it to 150. Alright, the moment I press enter, you will see that the alignment here changes as well. Now what does this tell you? It tells you that you can actually do a what-if scenario. So what if I want to do this with this value? What if I want to do that? And this what-if scenario actually give you a better decision making. Now this is why this tool is so wonderful in civil engineering. Alright? Now I have conclude in showing you the alignment tool. Do you have any questions you want to ask on this?
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
There are questions. No, thank you yet.
Not intelligent. If you change one thing, it doesn't correlate with the other alignments that you have already designed. So let's say for one step, you can change the whole adjustment automatically without any error. Compared to one single line, you have to make one changes, you have to redesign the whole alignment. Okay, and that will take a number of days for you to do that. But with this kind of tool available, you can just do it within minutes.
So, are you saying that if I take this alignment and I do my design of my corridor on it, and then let's say 1 week down the line before I have to deliver the project, I suddenly get a change request, I can just change the alignment and my corridor will also change?
Yes, everything is related, interrelated, right up to all your records.
So that will save me a lot of money when I have to do changes, because there's always changes in any project.
Yes, yes. There's always changes. 10% of it. 90% of it.
Thank you. Any of these two software. My name is Hu Ziyan, and this is my colleague Wendy Lim. I'm going to show you the Map 3D feature, which is the data format, meaning the import and export. And my colleague will show you the corridor function in Civil 3D. Okay, so we'll start off with the Map 3D function. Alright, here is the issue. Okay, in a lot of companies, in most companies that are using GIS software, you usually may be using other kinds of GIS software. We're not talking about Autodesk Map only, because as we know, Autodesk Map is more AutoCAD based previously. But now the latest version of Autodesk Map 3D has married the CAD and GIS very successfully, so it looks more like a GIS product than a normal AutoCAD product. Okay, so here's the issue. Your data is stored in many sources, and you need to integrate it into your mapping projects. And also, you need to reuse your existing data and share your completed project with other people. The feature in Map 3D is that we have the FME import-export engine, which now allows you to import the data from other GIS software. So this is a powerful way in which you can exchange your data with your colleagues and your customers. It's also interoperable with all major GIS software, and you can read, write, and transform all industry standard formats. Having said all this, you can still maintain the data in Autodesk Map 3D, or you can even successfully export it to an XML file format. So how does Autodesk Map compare with other GIS software? Let's look at an example. Okay, I'm going to take a very famous example, the S3 software. Okay, let's say we want to translate the data to Autodesk DWG format or Bentley DGN format. Usually, when you buy it from the box, you only get it one way. That means from S3 only to DWG or DGN. What if you want to export it back from DWG DGN to S3? Okay, you want it to be both ways. If you want it to be both ways, it costs you money. So this is a major issue, because most people, when you buy a software, you want everything there. But what happens with, like I said just now, you get it out of the box, it's only one way. If you want it both ways, you got to spend more money. Okay? And another important issue here is that it does not communicate with Oracle Spatial. Now let's look at our famous product, the Autodesk Map 3D. Okay? If you want to talk with other GIS software like the S3, the Bentley, it's already both ways. It doesn't cost you any more money. So when you buy when you buy Autodesk Map, it already immediately from the box translates both ways, from Autodesk Map 3D to other GIS products. And very importantly, it is able to export and import also the Oracle Spatial data as compared to the S3 software, which we had a look at earlier. Okay, am I speaking too fast?
No, that's good.
Alright. Okay, so of course, naturally, having said all this, I'm sure you users, you want to see for yourself, whether Autodesk Map 3D can really do everything that we say. So this is where I'm going to do a live demonstration for you.
3D software. As you can see, I think as we've been covered by the colleague earlier about the user interface, it already looks like a GIS software. You know, it doesn't have the black background anymore. We've got the blue background. It's very much like GIS. I speak like I do a lot of GIS. I don't actually know like nothing about GIS.
And another point is, don't say looks like, is GIS. Is GIS.
Okay, here's a major advantage. Let's say we're talking about AutoCAD alone. As you know, in AutoCAD, you can only open DWG formats and import DXF formats. Here's the major, the major benefit of Autodesk Map as compared to AutoCAD. As we saw just now, the Autodesk Map can import formats from other GIS software. And here's my proof, in case you don't believe me. Okay? Obviously, you can't go to open, because if you go to open, you're only going to get the normal DWG and DWS, DXF. These are all the Autodesk standards that are available across all AutoCAD products and Autodesk-related products. Okay. What we need to do instead is, if you want to bring in the information from other GIS software, is to import the vector files. Okay. And this list here, files of type, this is where you can see all the different formats in which you can bring in. For example, the SV Arc Info, SV Shape, GML, Map Info, and so on. Okay. I'm going to bring in bring in one of this to prove to you this is not just a dummy to show you, oh, I know we've got all this, and when you actually tried it, it doesn't work. I'm going to bring in an SV Arc Info coverage file. The data is all stored in this folder, the major roads folder. I know it looks blank at the moment, so to prove to you that there's actually data in there, I'll just go to my Windows Explorer. Where is it? Major roads. Okay, this is all the SV Arc Info coverage files. But obviously you can't see them from here. You don't really have to import any files because it's folder based. So all you need to do is just hit OK. Alright. Okay, to save you time, I'm not going to meddle with all the parameters. I'm just going to click OK. And you can see there are objects which have been processed just now. I'm going to zoom out to show you the data has been imported. So this is proof that Autodesk Map can import data from other kinds of GIS software. In the same manner, if you need to export the data from Autodesk Map into other GIS software, you can also. Because Autodesk Map 3D, as you know, it's based on AutoCAD format. You can see in itself is a DWG format over here. So a lot of people's concern is that, hey, it's DWG, but I've got other software which can't read DWG. What am I going to do? You just export it. In the same way, you just need to export vector files. Again, this is the list of the different formats in which you can export. And it's very easy. It's just like importing, as you saw just now. All I need to do, say for example, I want to export this into an SHP file, as a shape file. I'm just going to call this, say I'm going to call this test1. Click OK. I've placed this in my documents folder. So I think this is in mine, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to click OK. And I'm going to go to my documents to show you we've got the test1.shp file. I don't have the SV Arc Info program in here to show you that I can read this, but if any of you do, feel free to come over and test my format. Okay, I've got no qualms about it whatsoever. So that concludes my presentation on the import and export feature of Autodesk Map. Do you have any questions?
Okay, I have. Anyone questions? Yeah.
Actually, it's not a question. It's very important that you should also mention to import and export object data or initiate its attributes, because especially for parcel and facilities mapping, it's very important.
Actually, my question is going to be the same thing. We can place the question another way. Okay, I'm an ESRI customer. I already use AutoCAD. And what I do is I digitize using AutoCAD. I take that DXF file and I put that DXF file into my ESRI and it works fine. Why do I do
Because you're
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, example.
20 years of experience sitting, those civil engineers sitting there. So,
Okay, Civil 3D, Autodesk Civil 3D is having this very powerful tools called corridor model. Okay, and it is the heart of the Civil 3D product. So what is corridor model? Corridor model is actually an engineering model for rail, roadway, channel design, and so forth, and more. So how does this work? Okay, I'm going to give you a simple illustration to show you what is actually corridor. Corridor is how it is made up. Okay, a collection of sub-assemblies will actually form the assemblies. Okay, and a collection of assemblies will form the corridor. So actually, these sub-assemblies, when you actually collectively group them together, you will get a typical cross-section of a road. You know, when the road, you have the cross-section, you have the road, you have the carriageway, you have the median, you have the whatever elements that you want to design the road. So essentially, when you protrude that along the alignment, you will get the corridor. Okay. So how does this work in Civil 3D? So in Civil 3D, like I said before, this is the cross-sectional components. So these are already being packaged in a catalog in Civil 3D. So in this, you already have a extensive catalogs having all the elements that you need for your road design. So I'm going to give you a demo on this. Alright, like for example, I'm assuming that you already have an alignment. So before you can actually model out your corridor, you need to have an alignment. For doing your alignment, of course, you need to have your profile. Alright? And after your profile, okay, this is what I'm going to show you, the sub-assemblies. Alright, how am I going to create an assembly using sub-assemblies? Okay, so I'm going to go to the corridor menu and create assemblies. Alright, I'm going to name this assembly 1. So I'm just going to click on any part of the drawing that is blank, and you will see this. Okay. So before you actually assemble your sub-assemblies, you need to have these 2 palettes. Okay, and these 2 palettes can be found here. If you don't have it, you can find it here. Okay. Okay. First, I'm gonna create the carriageway, and when I click on this, the property box will come up. Right, and I'm going to change the property of the width. I'm going to change it to 14, and I'm going to change that to 1. Right? And as you look at this, this is the right-hand side of the marker and left-hand side of the marker. So I click right-hand side, and I'm going to do the same to the left. Okay. Now I'm going to create the basic curve and channel. I'm going to change the property of the width to 1.25. Right? So you can see it is like the typical cross-section of a road. Now I'm going to go on to create the footway. I'm going to change the property, buffer width 1 to 2, and buffer width 2 to 3. Same thing to the left. And the last one is I'm going to create the slope. I'm going to change the cut slope property to 3 to 1 slope. Okay, so I'm done with so this is what we call the assembly. And this small item is the sub-assembly. So I group them together and I form the assemblies. So now I'm going to build the corridor. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go to corridors and create corridor. Okay. So upon clicking that, there will be a command line to ask you to select a baseline of the alignment. So I'm just going to select it, select the center line. Then they will ask you to choose the profile. I will choose layout 1 and choose the assembly. Right? So I'm just going to click OK. So it is modeling. So there you see. And this is not, when you see this, it is not just 2D. Alright? It is having all the 3D elements and values. And even that, you can actually link it to this render and to see it even better, to visualize it even better. Or even like you want to do it for presentation purposes, you can actually render it and put it in your PowerPoint slides. For this corridor model, you can also do for different assemblies. So just now I only show you one type of assembly. You can actually do two, right? But let's say I want to have this section I want to do for another assembly, and this section I want to do for another assembly. So you can actually do that by creating another type of assembly. So, and upon doing that, you need to just specify the range or the region. Okay. So I'm not going to do that. If you ask me, then I will show it to you. So now I'm just going to link it to this render and let you see how does it look like. Okay, now I'm going to link it to this render. I'm going to take the surface out because if I put them together, then it will actually cover the corridor and I cannot see it properly. So I'm going to take it out. I'm just going to go to File and link it to this render. So this render actually comes together with Civil 3D. So I'm going to zoom in. As you can see, this is the carriageway, this is the curb, the footway, and it's not very nice. I'm just going to render it.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to change the render material so you can see it more clearly in your
I would like to point out that when you're doing a demo for the corridors, we're trying to focus more on the civil.
So you just have to.
So what you want to do is show them the finished product, because most likely they're going to do a more detailed presentation if they need to.
Okay.
Okay, what we do is that I'll stop here, and anybody has any questions to ask? Let's take one question because we're running a bit short of time. Do you have any questions for? You can't just let them go that easily.
Siri, any question?
About the rendering.